Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to A Ship Called Relation. I'm your host, Jason Galka, and if you've ever been through a bad breakup, have you ever ended up being stalked by your ex? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Bad breakups that lead to stalking, and also we'll talk about how you can prevent this from happening safely without actually having to confront your stalker. And later in the show, we'll tell you if you're in fact being stalked by social media as well, how to handle all that situation. And as always, I am joined by beautiful ladies on my panel this morning, Desiree and Kelly. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Jason.
Great to see you. I'm doing well, thanks. I'm excited for this show because there is in fact so much out there about stalking. I mean, just doing my own research, we're going to get right into it on who stalkers are, if we've been through bad breakups and we ended up being stalked, how did we handle that? Do you guys have personal stories?
I do, actually.
Ooh, please go first.
Not from an ex-boyfriend. Actually, I was working at a tanning salon, and this older man, I was about 18, older man in his mid-30s, for an 18-year-old, that's older, and he was coming in late at night, right before we would close. He would just stay, hang around, but never actually needed to be there, only would come when I was there. And it was like late at night, it was like midnight when we closed, so I would walk to my car by myself, and he would always be there. I'll walk you to your car, I'll wait for you to lock up. Long story short, I actually ended up quitting that job, and I started going to another gym, and he started showing up there too, till my boyfriend at the time had to handle that situation. But it was scary being a young girl and having some man always just show up where you are, always just be there, always just know things about you and talk about you to your, other employees. Like it
now,
was.
did he ever show up to tan, or he was just? What would he do?
He said he would show up to tan, but he would be too late to actually tan, so he would just have to stay till we close up because he felt bad for making me wait. So he never actually tanned. He bought a package, but I don't think I've ever saw that man tan.
Wow. So, like, what would he talk to? Would he just hang out there
He would sit in the lobby, and he'd be like, I know it's too late to tan. I'm sorry, I'll miss my appointment again, but I'll just wait till you lock up to make sure you're okay. As a young girl, that's a little scary.
Yeah. I mean, what was going through your mind?
I just remember always calling my boyfriend and being like, he's here again, or texting him like, he's here again, and he would just show up and kind of give him the evil eye, but never said anything because it was still my place of business. I was trying to be, responsible here. But it eventually got taken care of. But it was a little scary for a few months.
Yeah,
especially seeing him other places. I was like, oh no, here we go.
And not ever having experienced anything like that at that age. I mean, you don't know what to do or how to handle it.
It was my second job I've ever had. I was like, oh no, I can't handle this. So.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Scary stuff. Kelly, what about you?
I don't have any actual stalking experience, luckily, because that sounds really scary. So, luckily, I don't. No, I'm just more like a snooping kind of thing, where I caught guys snooping, or I've admittedly snooped and past boyfriends. And it's hard to know. I mean, you wonder like where that line is, and I mean, showing up places is definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of stalking, actually. In fact, one of our viewers had written in, because as you know, you can find me on Facebook, you can also email me your stories all the time, but we did have a viewer that wrote into me when I did post for this on my Facebook page. She writes, Dear Jason, about 10 years ago, I was working nights in a pet store and would close up alone at 10 p.m. It wasn't so bad because the store was in a huge shopping center, so I wasn't exactly alone, so I felt safe. That was until I began being stalked. It was a man that I later found out was a regular customer who I saw quite often, but had no idea he was in fact stalking me. When he would come to the store, it was always during the day. Then in the evenings, when I was working alone until close, I was getting obscene phone calls from a man who would say very vulgar things to me, and would also be able to tell me what I was wearing. It was him. I couldn't even move. I was so thankful I didn't lock the door after I let him in, because now my boyfriend had come in to see what was keeping me. He saw the look on my face, and I managed to get out that this was the creep that had just said something vulgar to me and that this was the stalker. I told my boyfriend I was being stalked, which is why he would pick me up at night, and now he was face to face with my stalker. He made sure that this guy never bothered me again, which he hasn't. Never saw this guy in the store again, but had not my boyfriend shown up, it could have been a lot worse. And that's Jamie from Manorville. That could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting phone calls, they could tell you what you're wearing, and now you're in a dark store as you're closing out, similar to your situation.
I mean, that just seems like he was ready to approach her in a negative way.
Yeah.
You know, he was waiting for that moment that he thought she was alone, and at that point, he could have followed her home. He could, you know, that story could have gone a lot worse. And good thing she was saved by her boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, from what she said, she definitely let him know what the situation was. So we're going to talk about how stalking actually begins. It could come from a very bad breakup, an obsessed ex. I think we've all had one or two of those, but it depends on how extreme that they take it. So, stalking begins. Warning signs of a stalker. According to the Houston Chronicle, there are 3 main reasons why someone decides to start stalking somebody else. One is they're just simply not right in the head. They have a psychological disorder and they're seeking intimacy and genuinely believe that the other person is in love with them or will love them. I'm a big believer in that. Number 2, the stalker may not even be aware they're stalking because they're so socially awkward and have no idea what they're doing is actually stalking. I think that's a big one too. Also, people don't realize they may be stalking. And the worst kind of stalker, which could be related to Jamie's story, are the ones that stalk just because they can. They enjoy using a form of violence or terror to make you feel afraid.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like Jamie's.
Yeah,
really
I would
scary.
say she was number 3. So thank God her boyfriend was actually there. But I mean, how do you think stalking can actually begin? I mean, let's go back to your story for a second. Like, was he a regular customer already?
No.
No.
He actually, there was a cigar shop next door. I was walking into work one day and he small talked for me for a second. I'm always nice to people, you know, had a small 2-minute conversation, and like a week later, that was it. He was just always there then.
Wow.
So I think that was more of the first one that you said. It was just not really right in the head. He knew I was a young girl, and
it's almost like To Catch a Predator kind of thing, you know, to be that young and him so much older than that. There definitely wasn't something right about him.
Yeah.
But when is snooping become stalking? We talked a little bit before the show. Sometimes we snoop. I mean, I do it myself, but I wouldn't say that we're stalking, but certainly we're looking for something. But what is it that we're looking for?
I know.
That's a hard one.
I think the main difference is once the other person starts feeling threatened. Like when you're nervous and like the Desiree situation where you're starting to feel threatened, I think that's when it kind of crosses into a stalking thing. Snooping, I think, is just kind of a natural part. It's
curiosity.
It's curiosity, and I don't believe in it anymore, but especially when I was younger, like you just want to know what's going on,
and what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, and you start getting nervous, and
I think it's more of it's a curiosity thing. I feel like if it becomes a daily routine, if it becomes your morning, noon, and night checking in, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
But if it's once in a while, it's like, oh, you know, let me see if he's doing this, or let me see if she's doing that.
But of course,
it happens in relationship,
yes.
And if you're doing that, then it's not a good situation to begin with anyway. You shouldn't be doing that to someone that you're trusting of. If it's an ex,
sink your own ship.
Yeah, definitely. If it's an ex, I think just let it go. There's a reason it's not there anymore. Just don't worry about what they're doing.
I'm thinking in the back of my head, if there ever been a situation where I have been stalked. I mean, I have gone through bad breakups where the guy was still contacting me, but I don't know if it was even a borderline stalker because I've always been like a lover of like attention, like, oh, you know, oh, he's looking at me through the window, that's so sweet, you know, like I think I was just naive, but being older now, looking back, I mean, I think I may have even been in some situations with a crazy ex, and we've all had one of those, I'm sure. But that's kind of where it stems from, and I think also social media plays a big part in stalking these days, because especially when you have open profiles like Facebook and Twitter and you're posting pictures all the time. We're going to talk about that now, actually. Stalkers can actually start stalking you just based on your social media. So we're going to talk about ways you can protect yourself from social media stalking. One is you could certainly make your profile private. Allow only your friends and relatives to see your postings. Another big one is you can upload small pictures, because even with private profile pictures, I found out, now I'm so computer illiterate, but doing this research, I found out that stalkers have an HTML trick, that they could take a private profile picture, put it into the web browser and see it bigger so they could actually see where your surroundings are.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. This is my research. I have no idea how they would do that because, like I said, I'm so computer illiterate. But they say that if you use smaller pictures, it makes it that much tougher for them to see landmarks around you, surroundings of where you are. And that's actually how a lot of stalking starts. They see your photos, they see landmarks around you, and before you know it, they're showing up to where you are.
Oh, yeah,
and you don't even realize that they're there. That's the scary part. There are stalkers out there. You don't know them, but they know you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it could all branch out from social media. So make your profiles private, upload small pictures, and avoid tagging, actually. Tagging can sometimes show up, as you know, on somebody else's profile, and that person's seeing what's going on. So if you feel like you're being stalked, you may want to just lay low on the social media, be a little bit more private, and also use a different username for each social media site that you're on. Use a different Facebook, a different Twitter, and a different Instagram. It makes it harder for them to follow you.
It's good. And then I know also they have the location services on a lot of stuff. You got to make sure all that's turned on. I just found out that recently. There's like a way on Facebook where you can literally go from a post and find out where that person is.
Oh, yeah.
I actually turned that off on mine.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's turned off. But I didn't even realize I had it turned on when my phone updated. So I had to go back and turn all of it off, and it's just something to look out for. Cause
yeah, absolutely. Because you're checking in, you know, Daily Blue Smithtown.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Everybody knows we're on the show right now. Who's watching?
It even always says where you're posting from, too. You'll see, like, if I update, it'll look, and it'll be, like, near Hot Pog or whatever. It's just like, why does that have to be there? Like, I don't know.
So definitely turn those things off. You want those features to be completely off if you suspect. And actually, last night as I was breezing through Facebook, not stalking, but a friend of mine, I want to read this to all of you. I'm not going to use her name because I didn't check with her. But she's having a similar situation. So I took a little screenshot, which I want to read to you all now. We'll discuss it. And she writes, "Hi everyone. Due to the actions of someone who is creeping me out and at the advice of counsel and the police, I may have to step off Facebook for a bit. So if you do not have my cellular email and think you may need it, contact me or inbox me in the next 24 hours. Sorry, don't mean to alarm anyone." So of course people are checking in, are you okay, what's happening? So her other comment was, "For everyone inboxing me, this isn't a Facebook stalker. It's someone who follows me based on Facebook and is passing by my house 30 times a day."
Wow.
Yeah, at least. So this is somebody, and I know she's very active on Facebook. She's very active in her community, so she's always posting pictures. But that's my point of what we were just talking about, is you're posting pictures, and people that know the landmarks and know your surroundings can now see where you are. So very important to make those profiles private or turn off the location, as we said. You guys have any stories about social media stalking? I think that's actually a little bit more common than physical stalking at this point.
Oh, yeah. You're following everyone on Twitter. You're following them on Instagram. People are posting their every move. Where I'm going to sleep, where I'm working, where I'm going on vacation. It's so easy for people to find out where you are. People are going to stalk you and not even think anything of it.
Exactly.
It's just so
you
common.
won't even know either. I mean, we could all have internet stalkers, and you would never know. It's not like where you're seeing this guy show up at your store or anything. He could just be looking at it every day, and you just have no idea.
I mean, everybody's always like, you know, post on social media. I'm not a big social media, I'm on Twitter, I'm all that stuff, but I post like what I'm doing, not necessarily where I am. Like, I mean, I do a lot of stuff in the community that kind of gives back, and I do a lot of things where I'm offering advice and trying to help people. So those things I'm always posting. But like, I'm not going to where I'm going next. I mean, I can't get into it for that, and obviously for good reason now.
There's definitely people that overshare.
Trending to check in places, but that's not always the smartest thing
to
do.
Yeah,
especially if you do have a public profile. I mean, people just don't realize, and then before you know it, you have somebody showing up and
There's just certain
following
things
you
you
around.
don't need to tell the whole world what you're doing.
Exactly. There's definitely some overshares out there.
I mean, you kind of bring it on yourself with, I'm following so-and-so on Instagram, following. I mean, you're saying the word, you're following. Like, just how much are you following this person?
Online it sounds okay, but if in reality you're following someone, that's not exactly
it's a little much. So there is cyber stalking, as we just talked about, but also physical stalking, similar to your story and Jamie's story. So ways that you can actually protect yourself who fits the descriptions of a stalker is don't keep quiet about it. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your employer, make everyone aware of the situation. Don't allow yourself to contact the stalker directly. A lot of people, and I would be one of them, and I know this now not to do this, but a lot of people feel that they could reason with this person and say, listen, I'm really not interested, I don't appreciate what you're doing. That's not always the best case to do. You're not going to get through to somebody that's not mentally stable.
No.
You know, I mean, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, you know, they're seeking intimacy or seeking that you're going to fall in love with them or you are in love with them, and it's not true. They're not going to understand what you're saying.
No.
So don't approach them directly. And also document the situation. Keep like a small journal of incidents that are happening and then report it to the police and get law enforcement involved.
I would definitely say take action before it gets to a certain point. Even if it turns out to be nothing, you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
especially if you're a woman too. I mean, you know, I know there are women stalkers out there, but it seems like women are highly stalked, really.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, definitely let someone know, because like it could have saved Jamie from a lot, and just letting someone know just so they're aware.
I think that's just the smartest thing you could do. She made a really good decision by telling her boyfriend. And sometimes maybe you feel uncomfortable, or, oh, they're not stalking you, you're being dramatic, or, you know, you never know how they're going to come off when you tell someone, but hey, it saved her, so it worked to her benefit.
I mean, definitely, that's where I think you need to bring law enforcement involved if nobody else is listening to you. So don't feel like, you know, don't roll it off your back. If you really feel like you're being stalked or something's not right in a situation, make the law aware of it. Contact the police and file a report and everything.
Definitely.
So great, ladies. So anything else you want to add to stalking today?
I think we've covered stalking. I think the ins and outs of stalking.
We definitely did. So, you know, maybe even you're a little bit of a stalker too at home watching. So maybe some of these tips will help you realize that maybe what you're doing isn't exactly socially acceptable, and kind of tune down on following your favorite celebrities even, you know. I mean, I know a lot of celebs are actually on Twitter and Facebook, and there's always people blowing up and commenting and things. That's cool, though, but just don't show up where they are. That's a little much.
Because they're a celebrity doesn't mean they're entitled to their privacy.
Exactly. I mean, it's a business, really. It is, so it's just their line of work. So, before we close, we're going to do our favorite game. We have time for one story, sink or swim. Grab your cards, ladies. It's time to decide fate here. Sink or swim, here we go. Okay, we have a story from a male viewer, actually. Hi, Jason. My name is Daryl. I'm 63, and my wife of 30 years passed away about 5 years ago. I'm interested in dating again and have been on several dates with female coworkers. Things were going well, but not quite sure if I want to pursue things since we work together. We have this relationship secret from other coworkers, but I'm curious what you and your panel think of an office romance. Okay, that's what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So definitely check out that show and get a little more advice. But what do we think about this?
I think you should just let it swim.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, give it a swim for now. I mean, it's like we talked about last week. It's just go at it with caution and just realize it could turn into an awkward situation. But if you think it's worth it, then go for it.
Absolutely pursue. I mean, nobody deserves to be alone, and if it's working out, I mean, he waited enough time. First of all, I want to say he waited enough time. 5 years is plenty of time, and you don't have to look to get married. I mean, it could just be a casual relationship. It could be platonic, and you could both have a good time, bring a little joy to each other's life.
Absolutely.
Everybody deserves that. So good luck to you. Absolutely. But be sure to check out that show if you have any questions. You can always see our past shows on thedailyblue.com. And we're just about out of time for now, but definitely come back next week because we're going to be closing out summer with super sexy summer secrets. It's a very special edition of our favorite game, Sink or Swim here. So if you have a sexy summer secret that you want to share with us, we'll decide your fate if that relationship should continue to swim or sink. Send me your stories, Jason_Galka@yahoo.com. Find me on Facebook and Twitter. Just don't stalk me. I love you all for watching. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.